The once calm waters transformed into a storm of chaos, thrusting his boat further and deeper into the trench. With each crashing wave, his terror intensified, amplified by the ominous shifting of the clouds. It was as though the heavens had conspired against him. Then suddenly, a massive creature's jaws rammed into his boat, crushing it and splitting it into two. Lake Nalubali, the largest lake in Africa, known for its serene waters and atmosphere. But not very many know that the lake harbors a lot of dark secrets. See, within its murky waters, there exists a trench that leads to the Sambwa Island. The island is known to harbor all sorts of mysterious creatures, especially mermaids that ride on the backs of monstrous gigantic crocodiles. These lurking creatures had for long struck fear into the hearts of fishermen and villagers surrounding the lake, and no one dared to go near that trench, as whomsoever went there never came back alive. For centuries, their merpods increased in number, colonizing many islands and claiming many lives in the process. For centuries, their merpods increased in great numbers, colonizing many islands and terrorizing not only the fishermen but also the locals around the lake. They were strong and fearless, but one succumbed them all. No one knew its name, so the locals dubbed it the Omusambwa gwa Mega, for it was protected by Mega, the largest and most enormous creature in the entire lake. Its origins are quite uncertain, but some traditional folktales have it that it was once a beautiful young lady who lived on a certain island on the Lake Nalubali. It is believed that her name was Namilo and that she fell in love with a local fisherman and unfortunately fell pregnant before he could marry her. In those days, it was forbidden for a young maiden to fall pregnant before getting married, and she would suffer a heavy punishment if she did. Tradition had it that the girl's father would weave a big basket, place their daughter into that basket, and cast it off into the lake as a sacrifice to Mega. But for some reason, Mega took pity on Namiro, and instead of devouring her, he turned her into a mermaid, which gave birth to all the mermaids of the lake. The villagers believed that the mermaids would lure fishermen with their enchanting voices, so melodic that they would put the fishermen into a trance. Here they would drown them, adding their souls to their collection. Many were warned to never go near the trench, especially at night when the mermaids were said to be most active. Years went by and the story became a myth. Many started believing that she had died or even never existed, but was just a story made up by parents to prevent young girls from falling pregnant before marriage. Many people tried to approve or challenge this myth, but very few had the courage to go into the trench. For centuries, fear gripped the lives of many people. Many fishermen continued to vanish without a trace. Only the shreds from their boats and torn nets were ever recovered. Her name was whispered in hushed tones, fearing to draw her wrath. But one day, a young man named Oriem decided to challenge the myth and prove the existence of the Omusambwa gwa Mega. Oriem was a fisherman from the Lake Chwoga, but after losing his home to the rising waters of the Lake Chwoga, he decided to move his capital to the Lake Nalubali. Of course, he was ignorant of the many myths of the Lake Nalubali, so it didn't take him long to challenge the myth of the Omusambwa gwa Mega. He was constantly bickering with his mates about the mermaid, so they decided to challenge him that if he went to the trench and came back alive, they would each give him 1,000,000 shillings. Misambwa ya mega, misambwa ya mega. Indeed, these people are chickens, Oriem thought to himself as he set out with a machete and quete to the trench. For days he sailed, and finally he reached the trench. Upon entering the trench, he realized that the waters were rising violently, but he didn't care much about it until the once calm waters transformed into a storm of chaos, thrusting his boat further and deeper into the trench. With each crashing wave, his terror intensified, amplified by the ominous shifting of the clouds. It was as though the heavens had conspired against him. Then suddenly, a massive creature's jaws rammed into his boat, crushing it and splitting it into two. The movement was too fast that he couldn't comprehend what was going on. All of a sudden, he found himself sitting on half a boat. Again, the waters shook. And suddenly a large creature came out of the water. It looked him dead in the face. Meg, he mumbled to himself. But within a split second, the crocodile had launched its second attack, sinking him deep into the lake, where he came face to face with the omusambwa gwa Mega. As he sank deeper, it was like as though he was in another realm. He came face to face with the omusambwa gwa Mega. What he saw was pain, anger, and hurt in her eyes. It was pitiful, but he was running out of breath. In pain, he struggled to go up for some air. But what shocked him was that he found himself on top of the crocodile. He didn't know what to make of this experience, but the mermaid soon swam next to him and told him to get out of the place as soon as possible. But my boat has been crushed, he thought to himself. Then the mermaid looked at him and told him not to worry. She would help him go back to shore. He couldn't utter a single word at this point, so he just nodded in agreement. They dropped him off on a certain island away from the trench and told him to find his way home from there. He did find his way home and won his bet, but something was always on his mind. Why did the mermaid let him go? Why did it help him? Why should it even help him? And to you, my dear viewers, why do you think the mermaid let him go? Make sure to let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Murabeho.